The vast expanse of the galaxy buzzed with life and activity. Countless alien races lived together in a grand alliance, but not everyone was welcome in this cosmic community. The Zephyrians, a race known for their gentle nature and soft, glowing skin, found themselves pushed to the edges of galactic society. On their home planet, Zephyria, the air was thick with worry. The Zephyrian High Council gathered in their floating crystal chambers, their bodies pulsing with anxious light. "The Galactic Alliance has spoken," announced Chief Counselor Lumi, her voice trembling. "We are no longer welcome among them." A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. Counselor Aura, always quick to speak, demanded, "But why? What have we done to deserve this?" Lumi's glow dimmed as she explained, "They say we're too weak. Our technology isn't advanced enough. Our physical abilities aren't impressive. They believe we drag them down." The news spread quickly across Zephyria. In homes and community centers, Zephyrians huddled together, their soft light flickering with fear and confusion. In one such home, young Zeph watched his parents with wide, worried eyes. "Mom, Dad, what's going to happen to us?" he asked. His mother, Aria, tried to smile, but her light betrayed her concern. "We'll figure something out, sweetie. We always do." But figuring things out wasn't easy. The Galactic Alliance had been their lifeline. It provided trade, protection, and a sense of belonging in the vast universe. Without it, the Zephyrians were vulnerable. Reports came in of Zephyrian ships being turned away from ally planets. Their distress signals were ignored. It was as if overnight, they had become invisible to the galaxy they once called home. Back in the council chambers, debates rage. "We should fight back," some shouted. "Show them we're not as weak as they think." But cooler heads prevailed. "Violence isn't our way," Lumi reminded them. "We must find another solution." Days turned into weeks. The Zephyrians' resources began to dwindle. Their once prosperous world started to struggle without galactic trade. In schools, young Zephyrians like Zeph tried to understand their new reality. "Teacher," one student asked, "why does being different make us bad?" The teacher, her light pulsing with sadness, replied, "It doesn't, little one. Sometimes, people fear what they don't understand." As their situation grew more desperate, the Zephyrians made a difficult decision. They would have to leave their home and search for a new place in the galaxy. Preparation for the great journey began. Massive ships were built, designed to carry as many Zephyrians as possible. They packed their unique plants, their glowing crystals, and as much of their culture as they could. The day of departure was somber. Zephyrians lined up to board the ships, taking one last look at the shimmering plains and floating mountains of their homeworld. Zeph clutched his parents' hands as they waited their turn. "Will we ever come back?" he asked. His father, Nova, knelt down. "I don't know, son, but wherever we go, we'll be together. That's what matters." As the ships lifted off, the combined glow of millions of Zephyrians lit up the night sky. It was a beautiful yet heartbreaking sight, a final farewell to the planet that had been their home for countless generations. In space, the fleet of Zephyrian ships looked small and fragile against the backdrop of stars. They were truly alone now, rejected by the very alliance that was supposed to protect them. Lumi, now leading the exodus, stood on the bridge of the main ship. She looked out at the endless expanse of space, feeling the weight of her people's future on her shoulders. "Where will we go?" Aura asked, standing beside her. Lumi's glow pulsed with determination. "I don't know," she admitted, "but somewhere out there, there must be a place for us, a place where we'll be accepted for who we are." As the Zephyrian fleet ventured into unknown space, none of them could have imagined the incredible journey that lay ahead. They were leaving behind all they had ever known, pushed out by those who saw them as weak. Little did the galaxy know, this weak race was about to embark on an adventure that would change the cosmic order forever. The Zephyrian fleet drifted through space for what felt like an eternity. Their glowing bodies dimmed as hope began to fade. Food was running low, and their ships were struggling to keep going. On the main ship, young Zeph stared out a window, his eyes wide with wonder and fear. Suddenly, he saw something. "Look!" he shouted, pointing at a small blue and green planet. The discovery sent a wave of excitement through the fleet. Could this be their new home? As they got closer, they realized the planet was already inhabited. Strange structures covered parts of the land, and odd flying machines moved through the air. "We should be careful," said Lumi, the Zephyrian leader. "We don't know if they're friendly." But before they could make a plan, one of their ships started to fail. Its engine sputtered and died, and it began to fall towards the planet. "No!" cried Aura, watching helplessly as the ship plummeted through the atmosphere. On Earth, it was a normal day. People went about their business, unaware that their world was about to change forever. In a small town, a young woman named Sarah was walking her dog. She looked up just in time to see a strange, glowing object crash into a nearby field. Without thinking, Sarah ran towards the crash site. As she got closer, she saw that it wasn't a meteor, but some kind of ship, and something was moving inside. Sarah watched in amazement as a glowing humanoid figure climbed out of the wreckage. It looked hurt and scared. "Are you okay?" Sarah called out, her voice shaking. The Zephyrian, a young male named Orion, looked at Sarah with wide, glowing eyes. He didn't understand her words, but her tone seemed kind. More humans began to gather. Some were curious, others frightened. A few pulled out their phones and started recording. Soon, the area was swarming with police, firefighters, and what looked like government agents. They surrounded the crash site, keeping the crowd back. Up in space, the Zephyrian fleet watched anxiously. "We have to help Orion," said Zeph's father, Nova. "But what if the aliens attack us?" Someone else worried. Lumi made a decision. "I will go down with a small team. We must try to save our people and make peace with these aliens." As Lumi's ship descended, Earth's military scrambled fighter jets. The humans were panicking, unsure if this was a friendly visit or an invasion. On the ground, Sarah had managed to stay close to Orion. Despite the chaos around them, she tried to keep him calm. She noticed how his glow seemed to pulse with his emotions. When Lumi's ship landed, the situation became even tenser. Soldiers pointed their weapons at the Zephyrians, while news helicopters circled overhead. Lumi stepped forward, her hands raised in a gesture of peace. She focused hard, trying to make her natural glow form patterns that might communicate their peaceful intentions. A brave human official, Dr. Rodriguez, cautiously approached Lumi. He held up a device that began to analyze the Zephyrians' language. Hours passed as the two species tried to communicate. Slowly, with a mix of technology and patience, they began to understand each other. Lumi explained their situation, how they had been abandoned by their galactic neighbors and were seeking a new home. Dr. Rodriguez listened with growing sympathy. "I can't promise anything," he said, "but I believe we can help you." As night fell, the scene had transformed. The military stood down, and medical teams were treating the injured Zephyrians. Curious but friendly humans offered food and blankets. Sarah sat with Orion, teaching him simple English words. "Friend," she said, pointing to herself. Orion's glow brightened as he repeated the word. In homes across Earth, people watched the news in awe. The arrival of the Zephyrians was shocking, but as they learned about their plight, many felt a desire to help. Zeph and his parents, watching from their ship, felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they had found a new home after all. But as the Zephyrians and humans began to bond, none of them realized the galactic storm that was brewing. The universe was watching, and not everyone was happy about this new friendship. In the days following the Zephyrians' arrival, Earth was a whirlwind of activity. World leaders held emergency meetings, scientists worked around the clock, and ordinary people couldn't stop talking about their new alien visitors. At the crash site, now turned into a makeshift camp, Lumi sat with Dr. Rodriguez and other human officials. They were trying to figure out what to do next. "We can't just send them away," Dr. Rodriguez argued. They have nowhere to go. Some of the other officials weren't so sure. But can we trust them? One asked. What if this is just the first step of an invasion? Lumi's glow dimmed with sadness. We understand your fear, she said through the translator. We felt the same when we were rejected by our galactic neighbors. But we promise we mean no harm. We only seek a safe place to live. As they talked, Zeph and a group of young Zephyrians were exploring the camp under Sarah's watchful eye. The human girl had taken it upon herself to teach the alien children about Earth. This is a flower, Sarah said, pointing to a daisy. The Zephyrian children crowded around, their glows pulsing with curiosity. Zeph reached out to touch the flower, and to everyone's surprise, it seemed to lean towards him, its petals opening wider. How did you do that? Sarah asked, amazed. Zeph looked confused. Do what? I just said hello to it. This small incident caught the attention of a nearby scientist. Soon, word spread about the Zephyrians' apparent ability to communicate with plants. Back at the meeting, this news caused excitement. Do you realize what this could mean? One official said. Their abilities could revolutionize our agriculture. Slowly, the mood began to shift. The humans started to see the Zephyrians not as a threat, but as potential allies with unique and valuable skills. Meanwhile, in space, the rest of the Zephyrian fleet waited anxiously. Nova paced back and forth on the bridge of his ship, worried about his son and their people on the surface. Look, shouted Aura, pointing at their view screen. A fleet of Earth ships was rising to meet them, but instead of weapons, the ships were carrying supplies. On Earth, a decision had been made. The leaders of the world's nations, after much debate, agreed to offer the Zephyrians temporary sanctuary. Lumi's glow blazed with joy and relief when she heard the news. Thank you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. We will do everything we can to repay your kindness. The next few weeks were busy ones. A large area of land was set aside for the Zephyrians to settle. Humans and aliens worked side by side to build homes and facilities. There were challenges, of course. Some humans were still scared or angry about the aliens' presence. A few protests broke out in cities around the world. But for every protest, there seemed to be 2 or 3 welcome parties. Many humans were fascinated by their new neighbors and eager to learn from them. Zeph and his family moved into their new home, a strange mix of human and Zephyrian design. As they settled in, Zeph looked out the window at the Earth children playing with young Zephyrians in the street. Do you think we'll be happy here, Dad? Zeph asked. Nova put his arm around his son. I think we might be, Zeph. It won't be easy, but these humans, they're kinder than we dared hope. As night fell on the new Zephyrian settlement, the soft glow of alien bodies mixed with the warm light of Earth lamps. It was a beautiful sight, a symbol of the unlikely alliance forming between 2 very different peoples. But far above, beyond the reach of Earth's telescopes, other eyes were watching. The news of the Zephyrians' welcome on Earth had spread faster than anyone could have imagined, and not everyone in the galaxy was happy about it. In the shadows between the stars, plans were being made. The peace on Earth was about to face its first real test. 6 months had passed since the Zephyrians arrived on Earth. Their settlement, now called New Zephyria, was buzzing with activity. The glowing aliens and their human neighbors were learning to live side by side, sharing knowledge and culture in ways no one had imagined. In the center of New Zephyria, a grand building stood. It was the Cultural Exchange Center, a place where both species came to learn about each other. Today, it was especially busy. Zeph, now more comfortable on Earth, was leading a tour for human visitors. And this, he said, his glow pulsing with excitement, is a traditional Zephyrian light dance. The humans watched in awe as a group of Zephyrians moved in perfect sync, their bodies creating intricate patterns of light and color. It was like nothing the Earth people had ever seen before. Meanwhile, in another room, Sarah was teaching a group of Zephyrians about Earth music. She played a violin, and the aliens were fascinated by how the instrument could produce such beautiful sounds without any light. But the exchange wasn't just about art and music. In laboratories across the world, human and Zephyrian scientists worked together, combining their knowledge to solve problems. Dr. Rodriguez and Lumi were visiting one such lab today. A team was working on using the Zephyrians' plant communication abilities to help grow crops in harsh environments. "It's incredible," Dr. Rodriguez said, watching a Zephyrian coax a plant to grow in sandy soil. "With this technology, we could end world hunger." Lumi's glow brightened with pride. "And your human technology is helping us too," she said. "We've already improved our spaceships using your ideas." Outside the lab, life in New Zephyria was changing in smaller, everyday ways too. Human foods were becoming popular among the Zephyrians, while humans were developing a taste for the aliens' light-infused dishes. In one home, Nova was trying to cook spaghetti for the first time, much to his family's amusement. "I think I made the noodles too long," he said, his glow flickering with embarrassment as he pulled out a tangled mass of pasta. His human neighbor, Tom, laughed good-naturedly. "Don't worry," he said. "My first try was even worse. Here, let me show you a trick." As Nova and Tom worked together in the kitchen, their wives, one human, one Zephyrian, chatted in the living room. They were planning a joint birthday party for their children, a concept the Zephyrians had enthusiastically adopted from Earth culture. But not everything was easy. Some humans still distrusted the aliens, and some Zephyrians struggled to adapt to Earth's ways. Misunderstandings sometimes led to tensions. One day, a group of human protesters gathered outside New Zephyria. They carried signs saying, "Earth for humans," and "Go back to space." Zeph saw the protesters and felt scared. "Why do they hate us?" he asked Sarah, who had come to support her alien friends. Sarah put a comforting hand on Zeph's shoulder. "They don't hate you," she explained. "They're just afraid of what they don't understand. But look." She pointed to where a much larger group of humans had formed a protective line between the protesters and New Zephyria. They held up signs of their own. "Welcome, Zephyrians, and Earth is for everyone." Zeph's glow brightened at the sight. He realized that for every person who feared them, there were many more willing to stand up for their new alien neighbors. As night fell, the protesters went home, but the memory of the day lingered. In homes across New Zephyria and the surrounding human towns, both species talked about what had happened. They knew that building a truly united community wouldn't be easy. But as they looked at the friendships they'd formed, the knowledge they'd shared, and the new life they were building together, both humans and Zephyrians felt hopeful. What they didn't know was that far above Earth, events were unfolding that would soon put their newfound alliance to the ultimate test. The galaxy had noticed Earth's new friends, and not everyone was happy about it. In the darkness of space, ships were gathering. Earth's troubles were just beginning. The peace on Earth was shattered one quiet morning. Huge ships suddenly appeared in the sky, much larger and more menacing than the Zephyrians' vessels. They cast long shadows over cities around the world, causing panic among humans and Zephyrians alike. In New Zephyria, alarms blared. Lumi rushed to the command center, her glow pulsing with worry. "It's the Galactic Alliance," she said, recognizing the ships. "They found us." On screens across the planet, a stern alien face appeared. It belonged to Zorax, the leader of the Galactic Alliance. "People of Earth," he said, his voice cold and threatening, "you have made a grave mistake in harboring the Zephyrians." Humans everywhere watched in shock. Dr. Rodriguez stood beside Lumi, his face pale. "What do they want?" he asked. "You have one Earth rotation to hand over all Zephyrians," Zorax continued. "Failure to comply will result in consequences." The threat hung in the air like a dark cloud. In homes across New Zephyria, Zephyrian families huddled together, their glows dim with fear. Zeph clung to his parents, remembering the terror of their original exile. Earth's leaders quickly gathered for an emergency meeting. Some argued for giving in to the Galactic Alliance's demands to save Earth. Others insisted on protecting their Zephyrian allies. "We can't abandon them," Dr. Rodriguez argued passionately. "They're our friends now, part of our community. We must stand together." As the debate raged, something unexpected happened in cities around the world. Humans began to gather outside Zephyrian settlements, forming human chains. They were protecting their alien neighbors. Sarah stood at the front of one such group outside New Zephyria. "We won't let you take them," she shouted up at the looming ships. Inside New Zephyria, Zeph saw what the humans were doing. His glow brightened with hope. "Look, Dad," he said to Nova. "They're standing up for us." Nova nodded, his own glow pulsing with a mix of gratitude and worry. "Yes, but will it be enough?" As the deadline approached, Earth's leaders made their decision. In a globally broadcast message, they announced, "We stand with the Zephyrians. They are under Earth's protection now." Zorax's face appeared on screens again, twisted with anger. "You've made your choice," he growled. "Now face the consequences." The Galactic Alliance ships began to move, positioning themselves around the planet. It looked like they were preparing to attack. But then, something amazing happened. Millions of humans joined hands, surrounding Zephyrian settlements all over the world. Their message was clear. If the Galactic Alliance wanted the Zephyrians, they'd have to go through humanity first. In New Zephyria, Lumi watched this display with tears in her glowing eyes. "I never thought, never dreamed we'd find such friends," she said softly. Dr. Rodriguez put a hand on her shoulder. "That's what Earth is about," he said. "We may not be the strongest or the most advanced, but we stand by our friends." As the Galactic Alliance ships charged their weapons, Earth wasn't defenseless. In secret, humans and Zephyrians have been working together, combining their technologies. Now, hidden defense systems around the planet hummed to life. Zeph and Sarah watched from a hilltop as glowing shields flickered into existence over cities and Zephyrian settlements. It was a beautiful sight, human engineering powered by Zephyrian energy. "Do you think it will be enough?" Zeph asked, his glow flickering nervously. Sarah squeezed his hand. "I don't know," she admitted. "But whatever happens, we're in this together." As the first shots from the Galactic Alliance ships lit up the sky, the people of Earth, human and Zephyrian alike, held their breath. The battle for their shared home was about to begin. No one knew what the outcome would be, but one thing was certain. The bond between humans and Zephyrians, forged in kindness and strengthened by shared adversity, would not be easily broken. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most powerful force isn't advanced weapons or technology, but the strength of unlikely friendships. The sky burned with the fire of battle. Galactic Alliance ships rained down energy blasts, testing Earth's new defenses. The combined human Zephyrian shields held, but for how long? In the command center of New Zephyria, Lumi and Dr. Rodriguez worked frantically. "Our shields are holding," Dr. Rodriguez said, "but we can't just defend forever. We need a way to fight back." Lumi's glow pulsed with concentration. Maybe we've been thinking about this all wrong," she said slowly. "We Zephyrians have always been told we're weak. But what if our abilities could be used in ways we never imagined?" Outside, Zeph and Sarah watched the battle from their hilltop. Suddenly, Zeph's glow began to pulse rapidly. "Sarah, I have an idea," he exclaimed. "Come with me." In the nearby fields, Earth's armies were gathered, ready to fight but unsure how to combat the advanced alien ships. Zeph ran up to the general in charge, his glow almost blinding with excitement. "Sir," Zeph said, "we Zephyrians can communicate with plants. What if we could use that to help?" The general looked skeptical, but nodded. "At this point, kid, we'll try anything. What's your plan?" Zeph explained quickly. Soon, Zephyrians were spread out across the fields, their hands touching the ground. They began to glow brighter than ever before. At first, Nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, the ground began to move. Huge vines erupted from the earth, growing at impossible speeds. They reached up into the sky, wrapping around the Galactic Alliance ships. "It's working," Sarah shouted, watching in awe as the vines pulled several ships from the sky. In space, Zorax watched in disbelief. "How is this possible?" he roared. "They're supposed to be weak." But the Zephyrians weren't done yet. In cities around the world, they were putting their abilities to use in surprising ways. In one city, a group of Zephyrians stood in a circle, their glows pulsing in sync. Suddenly, a massive burst of light shot into the sky, blinding the pilots of the attacking ships. In another, Zephyrians worked with human scientists to create a new type of energy weapon. It fired beams of concentrated light that could pierce the Galactic Alliance's shields. Back in the command center, Lumi watched all of this with growing hope. We were never weak, she realized. We just needed the right friends to help us see our strength. Dr. Rodriguez smiled. "And we needed you to help us see ours," he said. "Together, we're so much more than we ever were apart." The battle raged on, but the tide was turning. The Galactic Alliance, so sure of an easy victory, found themselves outmatched by the combined ingenuity of humans and Zephyrians. Zeph and Sarah ran through the streets, coordinating between human and Zephyrian groups. They saw amazing sights. Zephyrians using their light to power human machines, humans using their technology to amplify Zephyrian abilities. In the sky, more and more Galactic Alliance ships were falling. Some were tangled in giant vines, others disabled by light beams or brought down by the new weapons. Finally, Zorax's voice boomed out again. But this time, he sounded less confident. This is impossible," he stammered. "How can you stand against us?" Lumi stepped forward to respond. Her voice was broadcasted to all the ships. "We stand together," she said simply. "Humans and Zephyrians, united. We're stronger than you ever imagined." As the last of the Galactic Alliance ships retreated, cheers erupted around the world. Humans and Zephyrians hugged each other, their joy lighting up the night sky. Zeph found his parents in the crowd. "We did it," he shouted, his glow brighter than ever. "We really did it." Nova hugged his son tightly. "Yes, we did," he said. "And we found so much more than just a new home. We found our true strength." As the celebration continued, no one noticed a small ship slipping away from Zorax's fleet. It carried a message, one that would soon spread across the galaxy and change everything forever. The story of Earth and the Zephyrians was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. In the months following the Great Battle, Earth and its Zephyrian allies worked to rebuild. Cities damaged in the fight were repaired, with new buildings showcasing a blend of human and Zephyrian architecture. The planet was changing, becoming a true home for both species. But the biggest changes were happening far beyond Earth's atmosphere. The small ship that had slipped away during the battle had spread its message across the galaxy. The story of how the weak Zephyrians and the primitive humans had defeated the mighty Galactic Alliance was on everyone's lips. One sunny morning, Lumi rushed into the new Zephyria Command Center, her glow pulsing with excitement. "We're receiving a transmission," she announced, "from the galaxy." Dr. Rodriguez, who had been discussing plans for a new joint space program, looked up in surprise. "Is it the Galactic Alliance again?" he asked, worry creeping into his voice. Lumi shook her head, her glow brightening. "No, it's from everyone else." On the big screen, faces of various alien species appeared. Some looked similar to the Zephyrians, others were completely unlike anything the humans had ever seen. But they all shared one thing: admiration in their eyes. A tall, graceful alien stepped forward. "People of Earth and Zephyria," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "We have heard of your bravery and unity. We were wrong to judge the Zephyrians as weak and the humans as unworthy. We ask for your forgiveness and your friendship." A cheer went up in the command center. Dr. Rodriguez turned to Lumi, grinning widely. "Looks like we've made quite an impression on the galaxy," he said. Over the next few weeks, ships from all over the galaxy arrived at Earth. But this time, they came in peace. Alien diplomats met with human and Zephyrian leaders, eager to learn and share. In New Zephyria, Zeph could hardly believe his eyes. Aliens he had only heard stories about were walking the streets, chatting with humans and Zephyrians alike. "It's like the whole galaxy has come to visit," he said to Sarah, his glow flickering with amazement. Sarah nodded, equally awestruck. "And to think, it all started because your people needed a home, and we decided to help." The changes weren't just on Earth. Across the galaxy, planets that had once shunned the Zephyrians were now inviting them to visit, eager to benefit from their unique abilities. Humans, too, were welcomed, their adaptability and creativity highly valued. Even the former leaders of the Galactic Alliance had a change of heart. Zorax himself came to Earth, not to fight, but to apologize. "We were foolish," he admitted to a gathering of human and Zephyrian leaders. "We thought strength was only about power and technology. You have shown us it is so much more." As news of these events spread, a new era of galactic cooperation began. The old Galactic Alliance was dissolved, replaced by a new organization that valued diversity and mutual respect. Earth and New Zephyria were invited to be founding members. On the day of the new alliance's formation, a grand celebration was held. In the skies above Earth, ships from 100 worlds hovered peacefully. On the ground, aliens of all kinds mingled with humans and Zephyrians. Lumi stood on a stage with Dr. Rodriguez, preparing to address the crowd. She looked out at the sea of faces, human, Zephyrian, and a rainbow of alien species. Her glow pulsed with joy and pride. "Not long ago, we Zephyrians were abandoned by the galaxy," she began. "We thought we had lost everything. But instead, we found a new home, new friends, and a new understanding of our own strength." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward. "And we humans learned that sometimes the most powerful alliances come from unexpected places. Together, we have changed not just our world, but the entire galaxy." As cheers erupted from the crowd, Zeph stood with his family and Sarah. He looked up at the sky, seeing not emptiness, but endless possibilities. "What do you think happens next?" he asked, his glow bright with excitement. Sarah smiled, taking his hand. "I don't know," she said, "but whatever it is, we'll face it together. All of us." And so, a new chapter began. For Earth, for the Zephyrians, and for the entire galaxy. A future built on understanding, cooperation, and the unexpected strength found in unity. The race once abandoned by the galaxy had found not just a new home, but a new purpose, and in doing so, they had changed the course of galactic history forever.